Welcome, everyone. If you run a business in Punjab, employ even a single worker, or lead an HR department, you need to understand one of the most powerful new mechanisms in the Punjab Labour Code 2026, the penalty unit system. This single mechanism replaces decades of outdated, toothless fines with a dynamic, scalable enforcement framework. Under this code, a single violation can now cost you anywhere from 20,000 to 2 million rupees. And in the most severe cases, it can lead to up to 10 years of imprisonment. This code, enforced since February 2026, consolidates 12 different statutes into one streamlined but high-stakes legal framework. Let's break down how it works. To understand why this is such a big deal, we have to look at the old system. Previously, fines were written as fixed rupee amounts in statutes dating back as far as 1934. For example, a 500 rupee fine for non-payment of wages in 1936 was still being applied in 2025. Inflation had made these penalties meaningless, and employers simply ignored them. The new system introduces the penalty unit. One unit is tied to the current monthly minimum wage for unskilled workers. This means as the government adjusts the minimum wage for inflation, the fines automatically stay relevant and increase in value without the Punjab Assembly needing to amend the law every time. This brings us to a key insight. When a government raises the minimum wage from 40,000 to 60,000 rupees, every fine in the code automatically jumps by 50%. The PLC 2026 splits these penalties into two distinct tracks. Category A consists of administrative penalties without imprisonment. These are financial fines imposed by labor inspectors or administrative forms for day-to-day violations like record-keeping failures or discrimination. For instance, failing to provide a written employment agreement isn't just a small fine. It's calculated at twice the monthly salary per employee, making it a significant financial risk. Continuing with Category A, the penalties cover everything from paying below minimum wage and working hour violations to specific regulations for digital platforms and domestic work. Even factory registration has become a high-stakes issue, with fines ranging from 5 to 50 units for large operations. However, beyond these administrative fines lies Category B, the criminal track. These are serious offenses prosecuted in a labor court or before a magistrate, requiring proof beyond a reasonable doubt and carrying the weight of potential prison sentences. Let's look closer at these criminal penalties. These aren't just administrative slip-ups. The legislature treats these as crimes. Under Section 397, obstructing an inspector, especially regarding child or bonded labor, can land you in prison for a month with an 800,000 rupee fine. Section 398 is even harsher. Compelling a person into bonded labor carries a prison sentence of 2 to 5 years, while trafficking for forced labor can lead to 7 years or even 10 years if it involves women or children. The code is equally firm on child labor and safety. Employing a child can lead to 6 months in prison and heavy fines, and notably, parents can be held liable if they are complicit. Perhaps the most severe area for the manufacturing and construction sectors is Section 400. If a safety violation results in death due to gross negligence or recklessness, the responsible parties face up to 2 years in prison. The court also has the power to order that the fine recovered be paid directly to the deceased worker's family as compensation, ensuring the penalty serves a restorative purpose. The criminal track also extends to industrial relations. Violence or physical coercion is strictly prohibited for both sides. A union official who coerces an employer faces up to a month in prison, and an employer who uses physical force against a worker or union official is subject to similar jail time and even higher fines. Now that we've covered the types of penalties, let's look at the multipliers, the mechanisms that cause these costs to skyrocket. This is where employers must pay very close attention. The code contains several escalation mechanisms. First is the repeat offender rule, where a second conviction doubles the punishment. Second is the daily continuing penalty, particularly for the workers' profit participation fund. After the initial fine, you could be charged a full minimum wage for every single day you remain out of compliance. Third, for missing employment agreements, the penalty is applied per head. If you have 50 workers without contracts, you aren't paying one fine. You're paying twice the monthly salary for each of those 50 people, which can easily reach millions of rupees. Perhaps the most significant change for corporate leadership is Section 404, Director and Officer Personal Liability. If a company violates the code, every director, manager, or officer responsible for the business at that time is personally guilty. You cannot hide behind company policy. The only defense is proving the violation happened without your knowledge and that you exercised full due diligence to prevent it. This makes compliance a personal priority for every C-suite executive. So who enforces this? There are two tracks. Track 1 is the administrative route, where labor inspectors can enter any workplace without notice to inspect records and issue compliance directions. Track 2 is the judicial route for criminal penalties through the labor court. It's important to note that the courts have broad powers beyond just fining you. They can order you to reinstate dismissed workers, pay lost wages, or even force the company to undertake specific health and safety improvement projects. Let's look at how this impacts different sectors. Manufacturing and factories face the highest stakes, especially regarding registration and safety deaths. In contrast, the retail sector for small shops is treated more gently with lower unit ranges, though minimum wage rules still apply. A major addition is the gig economy spotlight. Ride-hailing and delivery platforms are now fully covered. Because the PLC 2026 treats gig workers as employees with full rights, platforms face cascading penalties for every worker whose rights are infringed. The code also addresses domestic employment, keeping penalties lower to acknowledge the informal nature of the work, but adding restoration orders for a worker's property. Finally, for large companies subject to the Workers' Profit Participation Fund, ignoring these duties is now potentially bankrupted due to the devastating daily penalties. To put this all in perspective, let's compare the old laws against the new reality. The contrast is stark. For example, under the old 1936 Act, non-payment of wages carried a maximum fine of 5,000 rupees. Today, that same violation starts at 80,000 and can go up to 400,000 rupees. Child labor fines have jumped from a flat 20,000 to as much as 800,000 rupees. Across the board, minimum fines have increased by 10 to 40 times. And the introduction of imprisonment for safety and obstruction violations completely changes the risk profile for Punjab businesses. Here are the key takeaways. First, the era of cheap noncompliance is over. It is no longer cheaper to pay the fine than to fix the problem. Second, get your employment agreements in writing immediately to avoid the catastrophic per head penalties. Third, remember that directors are personally exposed. Your corporate structure is not a shield. Fourth, safety is now a criminal matter that can lead to prison. Fifth, daily penalties can bankrupt you quickly. And finally, if you're a gig platform, you're no longer exempt from these regulations. The penalty unit system in the Punjab Labour Code 2026 is not just bureaucratic fine print. It is a total redesign of labor law enforcement. Whether you're an employer, an HR professional, or a worker, this is the framework that puts real teeth into the law, ensuring that rights are respected and obligations are met across the province. If you found this guide helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We are producing a full series covering every part of the Punjab Labour Code 2026 in plain, accessible language. If you have specific questions about these penalties or how they apply to your business, drop them in the comments below and we will address them in our upcoming videos. Thank you for watching.